Your sister asks how work is going, and you say fine. That word again. Fine. Not I just crossed 6 figures in savings for the first time in my life. Not I haven't touched my 401k in 4 years, and it's grown by $61,340. Just fine. Because the truth would change how she looks at you, and you're not ready for that yet. You are Polly, 34. Working the same job you've had since you were 26, the one your family still describes as that thing at the warehouse, like it's temporary, like you're still figuring things out. They don't know you automated $840 out of every paycheck the day it lands. They don't know your Roth IRA is sitting at $58,220. They think you're getting by. You are not getting by. You are quietly, deliberately, becoming someone they don't recognize yet. This one is hard to admit. You started hiding your numbers before you understood why. It wasn't shame. It was protection. The first time you mentioned a raise at Thanksgiving, your uncle asked for a loan before dessert was even served, $3,000. Just until March. March came and went. So did June. Nobody talks about this part. How success in a family that's never had it doesn't feel like celebration. It feels like a target painted on your back. Your father found out a different way. Not through a conversation, through a mistake. You left a brokerage statement on the kitchen counter for maybe 40 seconds while you grabbed your keys. And when you came back, he was holding it, quiet, reading the number at the bottom like it belonged to someone else's life. He didn't say much. He set it down, looked at you, and said, "You could have told me." You didn't know what to say to that, so you said nothing, which somehow said everything anyway. That night stayed with you longer than you expected it to. Here's what surprised me learning your own story back. The hardest part was never the discipline. Discipline is just math, repeated, boring, unglamorous. The hardest part was deciding who got to know, and when, and what it would cost you either way. Tell too early, and you become the family bank. Tell too late, and you become a stranger holding a number they never got to watch you build. There's no clean answer. You picked silence, and you've spent years wondering if it was the right call. Now here's where it gets interesting. Can you guess what happens next? You didn't stop building. You just stopped talking about it out loud. You kept driving the 2019 Corolla with the cracked visor, while your coworkers leased $51,000 trucks with $740 monthly payments they couldn't actually afford. You kept living in the same $1,450 one-bedroom, while people around you signed on to $427,000 houses at 6.9% interest. House poor and proud of it. You looked broke. You were the opposite of broke. That gap, between how you looked and what you actually had, became the entire strategy. Here's the part nobody explains right. Compound growth doesn't care if anyone's watching. Your $840 a month, going into index funds averaging 5% a year, doesn't need applause. It doesn't need your family's approval. It just needs time, and silence, and for you to not touch it when things get hard, which they did, twice. The first time was your car. Transmission, gone, out of nowhere. $2,190 to fix. Old you would have put it on a credit card at 23% APR and paid for it 3 times over. Knew you had a separate account for exactly this. $4,780 sitting there, untouched, built for the moment life tried to knock you backward. You paid cash. You didn't celebrate. You just felt something settle in your chest that you didn't have words for yet. The second time was harder. Your mother needed help, a real amount. $6,500 for a medical bill insurance wouldn't fully cover. And this time you didn't hide the number. You wrote the check. Not because you had to prove anything, but because this was the entire point of the last 8 years. Not to hoard, but to have the option, to be the family member who could actually help, quietly, without a single Thanksgiving table announcement. Compare that to someone who did it differently. Same income as you, almost to the dollar. Marcus, 36, 1 street over. New truck, $760 a month. Boat he uses maybe 6 times a summer. Credit card balance that never quite hits zero, carrying $340 a month in interest alone that goes absolutely nowhere. Marcus looks successful. Marcus has $1,900 saved. You have $58,220 in retirement, $22,400 in a brokerage account, and $4,780 sitting in reserve for the next thing life throws at you. Nobody at the cookout knows any of this. That's exactly how you planned it. Marcus isn't a bad person, and this isn't really about him. It's about 2 people who started at the same red light and ended up in completely different places, one decision at a time, none of them dramatic on their own. He bought the truck because it looked like a rival. You kept the Corolla because you understood arrival doesn't look like anything. It just feels like not worrying about a $2,190 repair bill at 11 at night. The bank noticed before your family did. That's the strange part. 6 years ago, applying for your first credit card, you were denied. Insufficient history, the letter said, cold and generic. 3 years ago, a different letter, pre-approved. $14,000 limit. Then a mortgage broker called you, unprompted. After a soft pull on your credit, showed a 781 score and a debt-to-income ratio most people twice your age don't have. The system that once treated you as a risk now treats you as a client worth keeping. Nothing about your family's perception changed in that time. Everything about how institutions saw you did. There was one moment you almost broke it all. 29 years old, a friend's startup. A guaranteed return pitched over beers on a Friday night. $12,000 in, doubled in 18 months, he swore it. You had the money sitting right there, liquid, tempting, one transfer away from being gone. You didn't do it. Not because you saw through the pitch immediately, you didn't, not fully, but because you'd built a rule for yourself years earlier. Nothing leaves the plan without 72 hours and a second look. By Monday, the excitement had faded enough to see the holes. 6 months later, the startup folded. The friend lost $40,000 of his own savings and $190,000 more from people who trusted him. You lost nothing but a Friday night buzz. That 72-hour rule, small and unglamorous, quietly saved more of your future than almost any single decision you made on purpose. The next one on this list is the one nobody talks about, and it's the most powerful. It's not the number in your account. It's the decision you made not to explain yourself. You stopped correcting people when they assumed you were struggling. You let your cousin feel superior showing off his new phone financed at $67 a month for 2 years, while yours, 3 years old, cracked screen, still worked fine and owed nobody anything. You realized somewhere in your late 20s that explaining your choices to people who hadn't asked real questions was a losing game. So you just stopped. You let the assumption sit. It cost you nothing, and it protected everything. This is the part that's hard to say out loud, even now. Some nights you sit with the number, $85,400 across every account, real, yours, earned, and you feel completely alone with it. There's no one to call. Your friends still talk about paycheck timing like it's a personal crisis. Your family still asks if you're okay financially, gently, like they're worried. You are more than okay. You just can't say it without changing something between you that you're not sure you can get back. Most people stop here. The ones who don't are the ones who actually change things. You didn't stop. At 31, you opened a second stream. Nothing dramatic, no business plan, no pitch deck. You started tutoring math on weekends, $45 an hour, 4 hours most Saturdays. $180 a week became $9,360 a year, all of it going straight into the brokerage account nobody in your family has ever seen the balance of. That decision, small and unglamorous, added $46,800 to your net worth over 5 years, growth included. Nobody clapped. You didn't need them to. There's a version of you that gave that first $3,000 to your uncle at Thanksgiving and kept giving, quietly resentful, watching your own progress erode one favor at a time. That version of you exists in a lot of families. That version never gets to the number you're at now. The difference wasn't luck. It was one uncomfortable conversation, once, where you said no, and meant it, and didn't explain further. Here's what your accounts actually say, the ones nobody in your family has read. They say you have 11 months of expenses, sitting in a high-yield account, earning 4.6%, untouched since the day you built it. They say your retirement, left alone for another 26 years, at even a conservative 8% return, becomes something close to $612,000, not a guess. Math, real and specific, sitting quietly in the background of a life that looks, from the outside, completely ordinary. They say you are not who they think you are. Not broke, not getting by. Not the family member people quietly worry about at holidays. You are the one who will be fine when the rest of them are not. Not because you got lucky, but because you decided, years ago, that being underestimated was a price worth paying for being actually free. You still drive the Corolla. The visor is still cracked. You still say fine when your sister asks how work is going, because some things you're still not ready to explain. But there's a folder on your laptop, one you opened at 2:14 on a random Tuesday afternoon, not a special day. Nothing dramatic, just a spreadsheet with every number laid out in front of you. And for the first time, you didn't feel the need to hide it from yourself. That's the part that matters. Not the number. The moment you stopped needing anyone else to see it, to know it was real. Somewhere between the denied credit card and the six-figure balance, you built something quieter and sturdier than anyone around you understands yet. And one day, maybe not soon, maybe not with an announcement at all, you'll let them see it, not to prove anything. Just because by then, it won't matter what they think anymore. Your father still brings up that statement sometimes. Careful, not pushing. A few months ago he asked, almost sideways, whether you'd figured out that retirement stuff yet. You told him the truth this time, a shortened version, a few real numbers, nothing dramatic. He nodded slowly, the way people do when a piece finally clicks into place. He didn't ask for anything, he just said he was proud of you, quiet and plain, the way he says most things that matter. That was worth more than the number itself, and you hadn't expected that. You think sometimes about the version of you that gave up in year 2, when $840 a month felt like nothing, when the account barely moved, and the whole plan felt like a slow joke you were playing on yourself. That version was closer than you'd like to admit. What kept you going wasn't motivation. Motivation left months ago. It was the spreadsheet. The boring, ugly, unfinished spreadsheet you updated on the first of every month. Watching a number creep upward by amounts too small to feel like anything, until one year it wasn't small anymore. It never really did matter what they thought. It was always just you, and the number, and the 11 months of exhale, waiting quietly for the day you decide to stop explaining and start living exactly the way the accounts already say you can. That day isn't loud. It isn't a party or an announcement at a family dinner. It's just a Tuesday, ordinary in every way, where you finally stop flinching when someone asks how you're doing, and for the first time, fine is the whole truth, not the cover story.